Welcome back to another episode of Go Be Wyoming. Today's special guests are Pam Sajec and Monte Buckmaster. I was able to sit down with Pam and Monte in the historic Mint Bar. I was able to eavesdrop in on some of their stories about the Mint and kind of both of their histories with the Mint. Monte is the current owner of the Mint Bar. Pam's grandparents used to run the bar in the 50s and 60s, so it was great to hear all their stories and exchange all the funny, wild things that happened in the Mint Bar. So here's Pam and Monte Buckmaster in the Mint Bar. And welcome back, listeners. I'm your host, Aaron Gray. This is another episode of Go Be Wyoming. Today, I'm sitting in the Mint Bar, and I've got Monte Buckmaster with me, and then Pam Sajec, whose grandparents used to own the Mint as well way back when with a partner. So we've got some really old photos here. We're talking about Monte tearing up the sinks and stuff in the back, the wells. And so Monte, thanks for letting us come by, and Pam, thanks for stopping by too, because we're getting some really great history and stories. So thanks for letting us sit down with you guys.
Sure.
Let's talk about this photo real quick, because Pam brought this in. And so who's the actor that it's not confirmed, but we think it's a famous celebrity, and it's Robert Taylor. Is that right?
That's correct.
In here in the bar. And when are we guessing that photo was taken?
50s?
Late 50s.
Late 50s?
Yeah. We know that he was in the area.
Okay.
That he spent.
Yeah, because he had a cabin in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah, in the summers. Okay. Awesome.
And he would go to the rodeo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And this looks like a rodeo weekend picture, so.
Oh, absolutely.
It could very well be him.
Yeah.
Front and center.
Front and center.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we'll dig into this. I know we'll go off on some side tangents and some side stories. We already covered a lot, and but I want to cover first Monte, where you're originally from. You're from Southern Wyoming, is that right?
No.
No. Okay. Where are you originally from?
South Dakota.
Okay. Oh wow.
Down
okay.
in Belfouche.
Okay, Belfouche. Okay. Awesome. And then how did you get all the way? I know Rock Springs is in there somewhere, but how did you get from Belfouche, South Dakota, all the way to Rock Springs?
Well, I didn't finish college, and I was starving to death in South Dakota. All you had to do was cross the state line, and you'd like triple your wages because Wyoming was booming. And I finally had enough and packed up, and I headed to Rock Springs. My sister was there, so I had a little connection, and it was hard to get your foot in the door down there, find a place to live, and their jobs were available, but finding a place to live was really hard.
Sure.
Everybody was sharing apartments, and, you had multiple roommates. So I stayed at my sister's place until I landed a solid job, and that was with UPS.
Gotcha.
So that's how I ended up in Rock Springs.
Okay.
And it was a tough 4 years of living there.
Yeah, that's a tough place.
It is.
And as we were talking, it's funny, Pam and you both know my stepdad, Joe, who's from Rock Springs, and you hired him at UPS, so it's kind of a funny, Wyoming's a small place when you think about it. But, so what brought you up here? Was it UPS then?
Yeah, I got
up to Sheridan? Okay.
Yeah, it was a UPS manager's dream job.
Okay.
I just fell in it. Everybody wanted to come up here, and I, just out of the blue, they just called me up one day and said, "You're going to Sheridan." It's like, I'm leaving today.
Yeah.
You were like, no, wait, because I wanted out of Rock Springs. I didn't like it down there at
Sure.
all. It's the contrast between western South Dakota and around the Black Hills and going to Rock Springs was like night and day.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It's cold and windy, and winters are long in Rock Springs, and if you go out and play golf, you gotta, the wind's blowing on a Saturday or something like that, you gotta aim your tee shot about 50 yards off the fairway and let the wind bring it back
take
in.
it.
And that wasn't that good, so it was pretty tough. I just
needed a change.
Yeah. You couldn't get to know anybody down there because it's such a high transient population. People came there to work, and their population at least doubled, and the people that the natives of that town, they all kept to themselves.
Sure.
Because they didn't like all these people in town, and you couldn't get to know very many people, and the transients you didn't want to get to know. because it was a tough
Right.
community down.
Yeah, with I-80 going through there.
A lot
yeah.
of crime.
Yeah.
It was huge. Bad deal. So when I got the orders to come up here, I was more than ready to come.
Absolutely.
And I've been here ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Belle Fourche is kind of in this neck of the woods, so you kind of knew what you were getting into. How long were you with UPS then?
12 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get into, I want to know kind of the story of how you came about buying the bar, but I want to go kind of, we'll jump back and forth here, so because we have Pam here with all the history here of her grandparents and the partner running it. So when did they buy, or because they purchased the bar then from, who's that owner that year?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, that's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. How long did they own it then?
36 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then so you'd come in here when you were younger and with rodeo, and we were just talking about usually when the wild rodeo would come through, the horse would be in the bar.
Right. Yeah,
And your parents would put you on the bar top and be like, just stay out of the way.
exactly. Stay up here.
That's awesome. So then who did they sell it to then? Do you know that?
Monty knows.
Well, I
Okay.
think they sold it to Harold Riley.
Okay.
Harold owned the truck stop out on the north end of town.
Okay.
You know, it was a really busy place out there.
Yeah.
You had a country kitchen in it and so on. But Harold lived in Belle Fourche,
Oh, okay.
and he owned a number of properties down there, businesses and stuff. And, you know, he was a family friend from a long time ago. I knew Harold, and I mean, I wasn't tight with him or anything like that, but I knew his kids, but they were younger than me. And about the time I'm leaving South Dakota, you know, they're kind of growing up and getting through high school and stuff. But my brother, you know, who's the partner with me here, was Harold's legal advisor.
Gotcha.
And, you know, that was our connection to it.
Yeah.
He came in one day to Wes's office and told him he was going to sell the Mint. Now, you know, that was in 1990, and I'd lived here since '84, and I'd been in the bar twice, you know, in 6 years. But I heard people talk about it all the time.
Right.
And I had never, ever dreamed for 1 minute that I would own a bar. It was never on my list of things that I wanted to do. I just never thought about it.
Right.
And my brother called me up one day and said, Harold's selling a bar. You want to partner up on it? And I said, what do we know about running a bar? So we're pretty good on this other side of it, but, you know, stacking up the cans.
Right. Right.
We just, you know, we talked about it a little bit, and it looked like a reasonable investment. And, you know, I knew, though, you know, that it was a place that was in high demand.
Sure.
I mean, if it was going to go up for sale, that the list was long of potential buyers for it.
Right.
And we decided we would, and we closed on it in 7 days before anybody ever found out
Wow.
that it was for sale.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Because if it would have went into a bidding war, it would have been a whole different deal.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. So would you say, is it fair to say your brother kind of convinced you? And I mean, so he brought it to you and was like, hey, let's partner up and do it. And
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Fair enough to say.
Tell me, because you said you were only in the bar twice. So give me those two experiences of being in the bar before you owned it. What were they like?
You know, it was quiet. You know, there wasn't a lot of people around. It was the middle of the week or something. And that was the second time. The first time I came in, I was working at UPS then, and I just felt like having a beer before I went home.
Sure.
And I came in the front door, and I managed to get a place to sit down, but I really felt like I was out of my element, you know?
Was it standing room only then?
Yeah. It was pretty
right
busy.
after work? Yeah.
It was pretty busy.
Cool.
It was around 7 o'clock or something like that, and the place was hopping. But the second time, you know.
Weekday, not a lot of people in here.
You know, I think it was a weekend.
Oh, okay.
But it was in that transition period from, you know, happy hour to 7 or 8 or whatever it is.
Sure.
And people run home, get something to eat, change clothes, and back to the bar. And I think it was in between right there because it wasn't all that busy in here
Cool.
at that time. You know, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, Joe was in here.
Oh,
He was sitting right over there.
the UPS crew, huh?
Yep.
Grabbing drinks after work.
Yeah. Well, I didn't work for UPS anymore.
Oh, okay.
On the second time.
Okay.
So,
That's funny.
yeah. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Joe. Yeah, it was.
He's told me stories, so it wouldn't surprise me if he was in here when he was younger. Yeah.
So.
And then closed in 7 days. That's
Closed in 7 days.
anybody listening here that's buying property here right now is like, what?
Yeah. Well, we had all the proper paperwork and the down payment lined up, and we just needed some financing, and we went over to First Interstate and talked to Mark Kinner, and Mark looked over everything and went, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
And pow, we signed the papers just like that.
That's awesome.
Went that fast.
Oh, wow. Because so we interviewed Mark Kinner as a representative, and he told us that he used to work at the bank. So now I'm like, not to make you guys feel old, but I'm like, oh, wow, like this history. That's great.
Yeah.
Pam, how about you? What's one of your first memories? And it could be when you were a kid or just one of your first memories of coming into the bar and you told us the rodeo one, but anything else that comes off the top of your head?
Well, I remember there were 2 shifts. Like, I think they opened at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And, my grandfather, they took turns, he and his partner, who had the night shift and the day shift. But we would come on Sundays when he would clean and restock. My sister and I would come and play, basically. There was an old bowling machine over here, and we could come in back, and we made, like, simple syrupy drinks, and we bartended while he cleaned.
Right.
Stocks, yeah. So mostly, just enjoyed the aesthetics of the bar.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enjoying hanging out, being around, and
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We could
Probably
run
hoping to
around.
find a nickel or quarter laying on a floor or something.
I remember eating peanuts, and we'd play pool back here
Yeah.
at the very back while he cleaned, and,
Yeah.
sort of pacified us so he could do what he had to do.
Yep. Didn't have to worry about you guys running around. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
So Monty, when you guys, you said you bought it in 1998? 98?
90.
90. Okay. We talked about the sinks and the wells. What were some other things right off the bat that you and your brother were like, we got to update or fix or just run through that whole, just maybe all of them, all the things you guys have done in the bar?
Well, geez. It was a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
If something came up, we fixed it, It needed some help. And I kind of got broke into that when, the first rodeo came along. There you are, it's 95 degrees outside, and, the place is jam-packed with people, and it is so hot in here you can't breathe. But nobody cared. I mean, they're pounding the beers down and essentially, selling beer that wasn't all that cold because we couldn't get it cold. We had a lot of trouble with that. And, a breaker would pop, and I went back there one time to reset it, and I burned my hand on the door, on that covers it, because the circuits were so overloaded that, I don't know if you know this or not, but those breakers, they give off a lot of heat. I mean, you're running a lot of amps through that thing, and, that when I opened up the door on it, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
So I got a burned out fuse, and it's the old style fuse that screws in.
Okay.
Well, I screwed the fuse out of there. There was a penny in there underneath it. Now that bypasses, the purpose of having a fuse.
Right.
Because the fuse burns. Well, it was burned all right, but it was already been burnt. But they put a penny under there so that it wouldn't burn and it would keep working. Well, it's supposed to be a 20 amp breaker, and you're probably running 30 through it. Well, it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So after we got all that that came to light, that was priority number one.
Right.
Was, we had to change the service in here. There was just too much stuff. And the service panel, they had to come in. As a matter of fact, it happened on a Thursday night where it just overloaded something terrible. And we ended up calling MDU on an emergency thing, and they came down on a Thursday night while we were in doing business, because Thursday night's just like Friday night on rodeo weekend. I mean, it's crazy in here. And they reconnected all that, or got it ready, and then when we closed down, they changed over the service on the outside of the building, okay? And, you know, put a bigger panel in there to allow more power to come into the building. And then from there, we split the panel, okay? And there was so much power being drawn through one panel that we filled a second one after we split it off to bring it back into, you know, under the 20 amp draw range.
Right.
Okay. It was crazy. It's amazing it didn't burn down.
Yeah.
God, we're like going, holy crap.
Yeah, knock on wood, yeah.
And I've been up in the attic a couple times doing some stuff, and, you know, there used to be a lot of neon lights in here, and they were in the back.
Okay.
Laying up on those shelves up there, long neon tubes. Well, those things have a transformer hooked up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the wiring that went to those was just wrapped in cloth. You know, it was an old material that they used to use. I got up there and I'd touch one of those things, and the cloth would fall off of it, and it's a bare copper wire.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, it was, whoa, what? Jesus, you know, so I got an electrician down there, you know, we started cutting all that stuff and killing all the power on it, because we didn't use them anymore.
Right.
They were so old.
Yeah.
Jeez. Crazy. So anyway, we got, you know, we got it all fresh wired and, you know, taken care of, and it's pretty safe.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was priority number one.
Sure, absolutely. And then, as you said, you know, as we've been talking here, you know, there's always been something that needs updating, the floor, or, you know, things like that. I do want to ask you, because we hit on rodeo. Is there any rodeo in particular that comes to mind, or a rodeo weekend where somebody came in that you remember, or just I don't know, that something's sticking out in the last 20 years for rodeo? You know,
like some kind of celebrity or something?
Yeah, or just somebody, I don't know, like a rodeo athlete, or just maybe somebody that, you know, so I've grown up here in Sheridan, so somebody I wouldn't have known, like, you know, I never knew Robert Taylor had a cabin out in Buffalo, so he's been in the Mint. So I don't know, I don't know, or maybe one of your fondest, you know, your personal favorite. It doesn't have to be like, you know.
Yeah, well, I don't have a favorite rodeo weekend, because there's no fun for me, you know. No, not really. It's awful busy for me.
Right.
You know.
How about just in general? Just anybody that's come in that sticks out to you?
I've met a few of the, you know, the top NFR cowboys, you know, that have come in.
Yeah.
A couple ropers, a couple bull riders. But, you know, as far as anybody else really coming around for that are usually not here that time of year.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I've had a number of people come through the bar, celebrity kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Kenny Rogers.
Well, yeah, of course, Kenny Rogers was in here, and doggone it, what's his name? Jeez. I can't think of him. You know, he's most of the people that I've seen in the last 10 years have come up for polo.
Oh, sure.
You know, so they've hung around the polo field, or actually even played polo and stuff.
Okay.
But have stopped in.
Sure.
Tommy Lee Jones is the guy I'm trying.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, Jones was in here a few times, and he hung around. He used to like to sit down there. You know, there. You know, of course, the other Robert Taylor, Walt Longmire.
Oh, yes.
You know, Craig Johnson.
Yeah, because they do the Longmire days. So
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He comes in.
Yeah.
And he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
You know, he really is. I like talking to him and Adam Bartley and A. Martinez, and the other guy that played Bailey. I can't remember his name. Anyway, they were all in here a couple years ago and sat around. You know, what's really cool about them is that they're just regular people.
Yeah.
You know, they got regular lives, and they just have a particular talent to be able to do something. But when you sit down and talk to them, they do the same kind of stuff we do. You know.
Yeah.
Wear the same shoes and That kind of stuff. And then, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't like bothering them. If they want to talk, I'll talk. But I don't go looking for autographs
Sure.
or anything like that. I want them to enjoy the experience in here.
Yeah.
Because this is a pretty rare place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every year it becomes even more rare to find a bar like this.
Yeah.
Because they're going away. It's hard to maintain them,
Mm-hmm.
The whole industry has changed a lot.
Sure.
We're fortunate to have this in Sheridan because it could be gone, Times have just changed, and but thanks to all the the people around Sheridan, it's part of Main Street, and without their patronage, wouldn't be the same.
Yep. Be an empty building. Yeah.
It'd be an empty building.
Yeah.
So,
Pam, how about, is there any stories you heard of people coming in through the bar that's, you mentioned Kenny Rogers, anybody that came to mind when Monty was talking?
Well, I remember they filmed a movie here.
Okay.
That's why Kenny Rogers was here. And I don't even know how long ago that was.
it was 1986.
Was that Wild
85
Horses?
or 86.
Was
Wild
that
Horses.
called Wild Horses.
Wild Horses.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. I just think if anybody comes to town that hasn't been to Sheridan, that I know, that's a guest, we got to take them to the Mint.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's just kind of what everybody does.
Yeah, it's just a tradition.
It is. Yeah. Well, and for I can say this, but like when you turn 21 here, that's a one of your first stops, on that celebration is you're coming through the Mint, regardless of.
I can't even begin to tell you how many guys I know have told me. My granddad took me down there when I was only 15.
Yeah.
I sat on a bench and had a pop and some potato chips, and then when I'm 17, I'm getting served.
Yep.
Slip me a beer.
Yep. Sneak you in.
I've heard that so many times. Yeah, I used to go down there all the time. I was only 20, but wasn't a big deal.
That's funny.
And there's some other times too, like Stroll. Before Christmas.
Christmas
You
stroll.
can't get in here.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just packed.
Yeah. And, standing room only. It's
If you have people coming home for the holidays, they're always here.
That's a great. There's two really fun times a year. Should narrow it down like that, but that really stand out. And of course, rodeo weekend, is one of them. And Friday morning on parade day, that's the best part of it for me. Because everybody's coming in, and I get to see everybody.
Right.
But from after the parade's over with, after that, it's run for cover.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to anybody. I got too much to do.
Run for the hills. Yeah.
And then when the Christmas stroll started, I thought that event was going to be an absolute flop because the first year they did it, it was a driving blizzard outside, and there was almost no participation. I was looking out the front window, and people were walking up the street. Trying to, it was that grainy, icy kind of driving snow stuff,
Yep.
It was just horrible. But look what it's developed into now. It's a great event. And, so you got people home once again, for the holidays, and they all come to the Mint.
Yep.
So you get to see them again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What, so tell me if I'm wrong, but the rodeo, we usually never had like the street dance out there, right? Originally? Or was that something that when you took over, is that something new or has that always happened? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, they had a street dance.
Okay.
But it was over on Grinnell.
Right. Okay.
It was there, and then they had it, no, it was on Grinnell, and it was really hard to contain over there.
Sure.
It just, you had to build fencing up and and keep it there, and, you couldn't have an open container out, so people would go, you could drink inside of the
fenced area,
but try keeping everybody in there.
Yep.
And they'd leave there and come up to the Mint or across the street to the Rainbow. They're carrying their beer with them. And it was a battle, with the people and with the PD.
Sure.
Because they weren't going to allow it.
Right.
And it evolved into this, what we have now because of Don Townsend.
Okay.
and what they do up in Miles City at the Buck and Horse sale up there.
Gotcha.
Now, they closed it off up there just like we do here. And Don Townsend took that model and sold the idea to the city on it.
Cool.
And it made it a manageable event.
Yeah.
Okay. It just was unmanageable, you know.
Yeah.
We could only hire so many people. And, you know, you're telling somebody, don't take your beer out here. You can't do that. And they go like, yeah, well, watch this. And they're gone. Well, you're not going to go beat them up. But that happened all the time. It just wasn't doable anymore.
Sure.
So Don sold the idea to, I think it was Mayor Wilson at the time, and they gave us the permission to do it, and, you know, it's been a work in progress ever since.
Sure.
Because things change all the time.
Oh, yeah. You know, that's because I'm a little younger, so I don't know, and, you know, never experienced that, but it's always good to hear how that came about, because it is fun, you know, go into the Mint, go to the Rainbow, you know, and you've got music playing on, you know, throughout the street when it's closed off.
Yeah.
I had a question. Charlie, do you have any questions or something we should talk about?
No, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Is there anything in here that I haven't seen yet that you guys were talking about earlier out of these pictures here?
Well, I did mention to Monty, we talked about how my grandfather and his partner did the brands, all the brands.
Oh, yeah. Talk about that.
And then the furniture, a lot of the booths and stuff were built like at a little garage at his home. And what do you call this diseased wood?
It's a burl.
A burl. Burl wood is how I always heard it.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
They kind of refinished that there and brought it down. And I don't know how many brands are in here. I wish I knew.
Well, I've been told 9,000.
Is that right?
Yeah, give or take.
Who counted those?
It's a good question.
Or if it's documented somewhere. Huh?
Yeah.
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 9,000 brands.
Yeah.
Are they, Monty, do you have any idea? Are they solely Wyoming, or are they kind of all over? Or?
There's some southeast Montana
Okay.
stuff in there because Bernie, you know, all those ranchers up around that part of the country.
Yep, come down here. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so some of those are up there, but for the most part, it's all registered Wyoming brands.
Cool.
They got them out of the book. There's a state book. And
Okay.
that's where they got them.
And then just did it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
On these cedar shake shingles, right?
Huh?
Aren't they on a cedar shake?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 9,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work,
Yeah.
you know, burn all those in.
Yeah. And the other thing we were talking about was the cash register, the old cash register. Like
Oh, yeah. With the,
you'd punch something in. So I remembered there was a Wolverine on it, and eventually there was this little bobcat on it that would light up when they rang up a sale. It had a bulb in its mouth.
Yeah.
And
Blink.
so that was, you know, part of the fun was to watch that
sure.
Yeah.
light up.
Yeah. When we took ownership, that old cash register was still sitting there, and that bobcat was on top of it, but the light didn't work in it. But that cash register was so out of date. I mean, it was horrible. The thing was huge, but it had a really cool old cover on it, you know, like an old time thing. It was kind of stamped metal, and
Okay.
it looked like it was, what do they call that?
Engraved
Some
or
overlay on it,
Okay.
you know, that, you know,
Embossed or something?
something, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, it looked really old and everything, but hell, you couldn't even keep the cover on it.
Right.
It was always falling off, and you have to put it back on, and then the next thing you know, the bobcat would fall off the back, and you put it up there, and on busy nights, it didn't work very well. So we don't even know if it added right.
yeah.
So we got rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about bringing back the bobcat? That sounds like that's a cool little, you bring that back. That'd be a fun attraction to see.
Well, the bobcat's still up there.
Oh, there it is.
It just doesn't light up. I took it to a taxidermist and had him plaster that hole that was in its mouth.
Oh, sure.
Had him plaster that hole up so that it, you know, looked right.
Yeah.
And then is that the Wolverine right there?
That's the Wolverine.
Yeah.
So they're both in here, so you can come look at them. And let's talk about all these mounts. I think you were saying it was Mavrakis and your grandfather, or?
My grandfather's partner, Mac McVeigh,
Okay.
and Sam Mavrakis would go on these hunts in Alaska. And so this is where they displayed the mounts.
Okay.
A lot of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Monty, have you ever added to any of these? Or, I mean, there's a lot in here, so.
I have.
Which one?
I have. But we haven't taken any of the originals out.
Oh, cool.
Okay. A grizzly bear was given to me.
Okay.
A guy that, well, there's a story behind that, and it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
The owl was given to me. I guess that's it.
I want to hear
Buffalo,
that.
the buffalo over the door. It's taken me 29 years to get the right buffalo up there. I've been saving that spot for this whole time because I always thought that it would be appropriate to have a buffalo up there.
Absolutely.
There's a good story behind that, too.
I want to hear the grizzly bear and then the buffalo.
Well, the grizzly bear, Tom something or another, I can't think of his name. I don't know him very well, but he showed up on a rodeo weekend, told me who he was, and says, my dad used to work in a logging camp up in BC. He says, and we ended up moving here, and then, they finished school here or something, and it wasn't here all that long, and then he himself had moved to Colorado. But his parents, I think, passed away here, okay? And while his dad was in that logging camp, they had an old grizzly bear coming in and raiding the camp at night. And, it was in the fall, and, he's tearing the crap out of everything and trying to get into their food and everything. They just couldn't get rid of him. So the two guys went out and hunted him one day. And it was Tom's dad was one of them. And they were kind of walking along on a hillside, and one guy was down by a creek or something like that, and his dad saw the bear out in front of him, and he shot him. I think he just, stuck one round in him and killed him, but the bear ran a long ways before he died.
Sure.
Turns out that bear is 17 years old.
Oh.
He didn't have any teeth.
Oh, wow.
But he was, and he was trying to pack his winter fat on, so he was, he couldn't do what a normal bear would do, so he resorted to human food.
Sure.
And they drilled him, and at one time he was like the seventh largest grizzly bear ever
recorded.
Shot.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know how they measure them for sure. I think it's something with their claws and maybe their head size or something.
Sure.
But anyway, Tom says, he said, I've had that in my house forever, and he said, I just don't have any use for it. And he said, since Dad lived here and stuff, he says, I thought maybe you'd like to have one. And I says, well, I've always wanted a grizzly bear too. And he says, I'll bring it up. I went, okay. So he showed up on a Sunday one time. He lives in Fort Collins, I think. Showed up on a Sunday, and I got the bear, and I ended up putting him up there.
That's awesome.
So that's how I got that.
17-year-old. That's a pretty long age for a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Yellowstone just tracked I think a 34-year-old one that's still out there, which is wild.
Yeah.
That's a funny story.
Yeah.
No teeth, so it had to raid raid their food.
Raiding the camps for food. And then that buffalo.
Yeah.
Now, way back in the early 90s, when Wes and I took ownership here, I met, hunting season was a big deal. I mean, all those hunters that come in here, I think most of them just came out here so they go to the mint. I don't think they really wanted to hunt.
Right.
So, but I met these guys from Minnesota, and still friends with them to this day. And I had told them that I'd love to have a grizzly bear over that door. Like 25 years ago, I think I told Brad, this one guy from Alexandria, Minnesota, that I wanted a bear or a buffalo over that door. Well, one of the guys in the group did a lot of hunting, big game hunting overseas, and, he shot everything there was about. And on his property, I think he was a pretty well-to-do guy. On his property, he has a separate building where he put all of his mounts. Pretty sure because his wife wouldn't let him have them in the house,
Right.
Then all these guys that go over there on Sundays, and drink beer and watch football and, talk about their hunting days and whatever. But anyway, he had shot a buffalo, and Brad, unfortunately, this man passed away, and they were kind of trying to find a home for these mounts.
Sure.
And Brad called me up and he said, are you still looking for a buffalo? I went, yeah. How do you know that? He says, well, a long time ago you told me that. I said, well, Brad, that was like 25 years ago. And he said, well, I know. But I just remember you wanted a buffalo. And I said, well, yeah, I am looking for one still. And he says, I think I got the one. I think I got it. And he said, I'm not going to tell you all about it, but I think I can get it. I says, well, when you bringing it? He said, this hunting season. I said, okay. So he shows up during the hunting season, no buffalo. He said, well, the thing fell through. The son decided he wanted to keep that buffalo head, and that was the end of that. He felt so bad about that. Him and this other guy, Thomas Yezzi, felt so bad about it, they kept looking for one.
Okay.
Because he felt like he lied to me. Well, I wasn't holding him to it, you know? And so it's been a little over a year ago, and it was, you know, it was late summer, so it would have been like first part of September, I think.
Okay.
He calls me up and he says, got a buffalo. He says, we're leaving tonight. I'll be in Sheridan in the morning. Well, wait a minute, where'd you get it? He says, well, I'll tell you about when I get there. I said, geez, Brad, okay. So I give him a call about 7 o'clock the next morning, and I said, well, where are you guys? I said, you ought to be pulling into Sheridan. He says, we've been in Sheridan since about 4 o'clock this morning. I was like, how did you do that? And he says, well, we came across 94 instead of down, you know, go down and pick up Interstate 90 and then come up that way.
Right.
He said, it was faster. And he says, we just drove all night. I said, good grief. And he says, where are you? And I says, well, I'm at the bar waiting for you. He says, we're right around the corner. We'll meet you. Okay, so they pull up. There's nobody downtown, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And they got this little trailer, and this thing is in a box, and it's all padded and all this stuff. And they had it tied down to the floor of a small Featherlight trailer, strapped down, you know, so it wouldn't move. And then he come in here and told me, he said, now close your eyes. We don't want you to see it until we get it in the bar. We're crying out loud. So anyway, I accommodated them as much as I could, and they brought that buffalo in. And the way they got it was Yazzie was still looking for a buffalo, and he saw one on eBay.
Okay.
And a guy that lived right there in, Thomas lives, in the city, okay, in Minneapolis area. And the guy that had it was just on the other side of town. And so this guy says, well, yeah, I got it. And he says, I got it off of a hunt that I did over in near Yellowstone. It was on a private ranch over there.
Okay.
He drew the tag or whatever it was and went out and shot it and took it home and was going to put it in his house. And he, too, ran into a little resistance from his wife.
Sure.
She said, there's no way you're putting that in here. So he sold it, for the taxidermy value.
Yeah.
And yes, he saw it and said, I'll take it, just like that. And they
drove it all the way up here.
Yeah. They both had the timing was right where they could get away. And Yezzie had a brand new GMC Silverado, or no, it's
Chevy?
it might have been a Chevy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But brand new truck, he wanted to use it.
Brand new Duramax, And Brad told me, he said, those trucks will only do 95. He said, and I know that because I drove all the way across North Dakota, and he said, and I had that thing mashed to the floor all night. So he said it'll only do 95. So that's how they got here so fast.
Right.
So anyway, that buffalo weighed 2,200 pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah. When a guy shot it and they weighed it out, full weight on it. That's a huge buffalo. Mm-hmm. And if you would see that down on the bar, sitting here on the bar, you'd be like going, whoa.
Yeah.
Because it's huge.
Yeah.
It's really big. And they wouldn't even let me help them put it up there. I mean, I had to help them, find a place to anchor, a great big nail, a big spike, so he could put the bracket on there.
Right.
And then I had to pull some shingles off and frame that in so it was real rigid. And after I did that, they told me to get out of the way. We're putting it up there.
Yeah.
And then they spent the rest of the day standing here at the bar, like people would come through the door and go, hey.
Look up, yeah.
We brought that. They were so proud of themselves over it. Anyway, they wanted to give it to me because they felt like they lied to me, and
Sure.
well, I wouldn't let them do that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I even paid for their fuel home.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's
good guys. You know.
what a roundabout story that it was shot in Wyoming, though, in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
You know, that's you'd been waiting for it for over 20 years, so
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing.
The funniest part was, though, here's the really good kicker. Oh, Bert down there at Bison Union, by the way, I got his.
Yeah, rocking his vest there.
Yeah. You know, he got his coffee shop opened up, and he put some buffalo mounts up there. Mm-hmm. I just started laughing. You know, they were kind of cheesy little mounts, but I went down there and told him, I said, hey, you need to come up and see my buffalo mount.
Right.
He says, oh, yeah, whatever, you know. And I said, no, I got one. And I said, it's pretty nice, and come on up and look at it, because I like to get to Bert. He came up here, and he was embarrassed. I really started rubbing it in on him.
Oh, sure.
Get rid of those calves you got.
Yeah.
And he did.
Oh,
He did.
geez.
Yeah, he went and got some different ones.
Right.
They're not as big as that one. But
Sure.
they're bigger than what he had.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Okay, there's that story.
I love it. Well, my last question I have for you guys is, and we'll go Pam first, is, you know, the idea of this show is we want great stories. We want to hear from, you know, Wyoming people, you know, kind of your story. You know, Monte, we kind of went through your story to owning the mint and kind of stories of running the mint. And then, you know, Pam, your family's history too with it. But what's it mean to you guys to be from here? You know, and, you know, Monte, you obviously have seen so many people come here to come to the mint, and really, you know, the rodeo or hunting, you know, so people come out here to Wyoming, and there's a reason for that. So, but Pam, what's, you know, kind of to end out with, like, what makes the mint so special, and what makes it like Wyoming? You know, like Monte was saying, like, you know, these kind of bars are dying. You know, there's not very many of them left. But you know, you had a childhood here. So what makes this Wyoming the mint?
Well, welcoming. You know, I would say the mint's very welcoming, but it's got a lot to say in here, and so does Wyoming. I mean, we're vintage. You know, we're pioneers, but progressive, and we're hardy. You know, Wyoming's kind of, it's what, 4 seasons, and most of it's winter, or it used to be. But no, I love where I'm from, and I get excited when people want to come and visit. And you know, there's just several things you're going to hit: King's Ropes, Polo, the Mint. I mean, there's a lot to say here. So the stories are here. Yeah, I love it.
That was great.
She said something that, you know, really strikes true to me, and it's that welcoming thing. I used to spend a lot of time in here, you know, because I really didn't know anything about the bar business. I had to learn it, and when I did, you know, I kind of wanted to be around a little more because of the people that you get to meet. You know, the regulars in the off season, you know, they're all great people, great supporters, and nice, and, you know, they'll do stuff for you in a jam, and, you know, that hometown thing. But in the summertime, you know, when the tourists come in, you know, everybody's got a story. You know, I want to hear theirs, and they want to hear mine. And so I had talked to a lot of people that had, you know, connections to the mint. And I got out of them what I could, what they knew about the bar. And over time, because there wasn't just any one particular person I could sit down and talk to who could tell me, you know, the history of the place for the last 50 years, you know. You had to piece it together. And once I kind of got that, then I had a story to tell them. And, you know, there's people come from all over the world, you know, and end up here. And I asked them, how did you manage to find this place? They said, well, you know, I had some, you know, there might be from Belgium or, you know, France or something. And they said, you know, in their language, well, some friends of ours came through here, and they were on a bus tour and said that if we ever came to Sheridan, make sure you stop at that Mint Bar. So here we are. And I'm like, wow, you know. And that'd go on all summer long. I'd hear that from from people. And you ought to see the guest books that I have. The people have signed their name and where they're from. It's literally all over the world.
Wow.
And they had some way of figuring out where we were, and there was some attraction that they wanted to come here. And, you know, you have to be able to talk to them so you can make the stop worth their while, you know. And, you know, I didn't lie to them about anything. I told them what I knew, and those people that are fascinated with that are, you know, about as far removed from Western lifestyle as you can get. So when they see a John Wayne movie on, you know, they kind of want to search that out a little bit, you know. And it's fun to talk to them in our own way, and then they tell me their story. And I've met so many good people and fun people to talk to, and I mean the list is a mile long. And I mean I can't even begin to remember them. Sometimes if I'm around, somebody will show up and go like, I talked to you about 10 years ago about this place, and yeah, I remember.
Nah, no.
But nonetheless, it's sharing that, you know, and being right down on Main Street where we're at, you know, it is perfect. This is a perfect location in Sheridan because people can unload off of a bus or find a parking place and get out and walk Main Street and end up in here, and you know, small town kind of a thing with a huge historical bar, you know, and a lot of stories about it. And so I've done what I can, you know, to spread the good feel about Sheridan and the Mint and all of its history that I can, you know. And I think it's paid some dividends.
Yeah.
We've kept it alive, you know.
Right.
And we're still going to do that. So
That's awesome. I love it. Well, yeah, if anyone's listening, come on down to the Mint Bar here in Sheridan on Main Street. Find Monty. He'll talk to you. Again, you guys were talking before. There's so much history here. There's so many stories. There's so many people have come through. So I guarantee you we did not go through all the stories that Monty can tell you, or really not just Monty, but anybody that you run into. I mean, there's plenty of people that probably hang out here that have stories. So, but Monty, thanks again for letting us come in and set up. This was fun. I think we should do this again. Pam, thanks for coming by too. I love these pictures. This was, it's just really cool to see what it looked like 60, 50 years ago. It's wild. So, thank you too. And, thanks for everyone listening.